Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grab the Remote. I'm Candler Budd.
And I'm Brian Chapman.
And this is, like I just said 2 seconds ago, Grab the Remote. How are you, Brian?
I'm great, as always. Thank you for asking.
On tonight's episode, or whenever it is you're watching, it's 10 p.m. on the East Coast for us. Very rainy night here in Georgia.
I declare.
My dog is down here. She hates thunder and lightning. But hopefully the sounds of my melodious voice for this podcast will soothe her.
Coffee black.
Nice.
Melodious. Nice. Melodious. Good word.
Melodious. Yes. So today we're going to try something new. This is going to be part 2 of our Star Wars discussion. This time we're going to try being very serious, because I think yesterday's episode we weren't serious enough. Your thoughts?
I think we were deadly serious yesterday. I was so serious, I flubbed a million things. We're talking about, again, what is someone's idea of hell? Maybe it is 2 fans talking about Star Wars for 35 minutes. I don't know. But
let's do it again.
Here's a few things I wanted to amend. So obviously with The Empire Strikes Back, I couldn't remember any of Yoda's great knowledge. And I think I was almost trying to say with great power comes great responsibility. Like that was in my head. I was like, no, that's
the Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's Uncle Ben's line. Do or do not, there is no try, like those types of things. I got stuck. Ben Burtt was the sound designer. I think he won an Oscar. I think I said special effects. I said that Luke got his arm cut off. I said it like twice. I was like, and again, because we're looking over these things. I remember I was like, oh, I said his arm. Yeah, I know it's his hand. Not his arm, for Pete's sake. What else is there?
Well, on Empire, it starts off on the planet Hoth, and I was talking about how I saw it when I was a kid, and I called it the space planet. I didn't call it the space planet. I called it the ice planet. So I can't even quote myself correctly. So, yeah, we all made a few flubs, but it was a lot of fun, and we were raring to go.
We were passionate, and I think we got to around Empires. We're closing in on Jedi. I wanted to mention, we talked about a lot of the new characters, and Boba Fett was touched on, but the Boba Fett character became so wildly popular for basically doing nothing, just being in a cool costume.
Yeah.
The bounty hunters in general, I don't know about for you, but the bounty hunters, and now with the Mandalorian, you have the IG-11 character, but you have, I'm going to go through all the bounty hunters. Those were the characters I wanted, and they just stood around for like 12 seconds. IG-88, Zuckuss, Forlom, Dengar, and of course Boba.
Dengar.
Yeah, Dengar's like wrapped up, like he's just been beat up. He's just this pitiful mass. And then of course Slave One. Like all those things I only know because of the action figures. So that was the fun part of the trilogy as well, is that you don't necessarily have to have everybody's names in order to.
Bounty hunters, we don't need their scum.
So I definitely wanted to mention the bounty hunters with when it came to Empire, and of course leaving us on a 3-year long cliffhanger, which leads us into Revenge of the Jedi. By the way, we can talk a little bit about the
I'm glad they picked Return rather than Revenge. What about you?
Certainly, and this is someone else's thought, but Jedis don't take revenge. So
exactly.
And so you do have, and it's multiple meanings, of course. The return of Luke, the return of the Jedi in some form, we hope.
The return of Anakin, we hope.
Certainly.
Vader in Empire is when he's his most evil. I mean, he's killing everybody left and right, except for is it Piet? I love him.
He comes back for Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, it's right? Piet, right? That's his name.
Piett, I guess. Admiral Piett.
Piett.
Because after Ozzel dies, like he puts him in charge, I guess. After he chokes out Ozzel through FaceTime or whatever.
That actor plays it so well because you can tell that he's scared to death of Vader. You could tell that he thinks Vader's crazy, but yet he's totally respectful. I was about to clear him, sir.
So my birthday's in May, so I always had Star Wars. Those last 2 were Star Wars parties. And this is a fun memory. So my mom taught at the same school that I went to, and I stayed home. I don't know. Listen, this was the 80s, so you can do anything. So I stayed home by myself. just because, and waited for my mom to come home and with my friends, because we were having a spend the night party for my birthday. But the theater was great. They had like this high up. I'm not sure how to explain this, but we had like a view of the screen from up high. So we actually rented this room for Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
And that was a fun memory for me at 10. And again, it didn't disappoint. For 10, it didn't disappoint. Obviously, we probably feel the same that Jedi is the weakest entry, but still pretty satisfying in some places. We can dissect it a little bit, of course. You get the best. I mean, I talked a little bit about puppets with Yoda, but Jabba is this humongoid puppet operated by all types of.
Oh, I want to get into Jabba's acting in a little bit because I love Jabba. I want to talk a little bit about. Let's bring it back to me. Kind of where I was. I guess third grade. I was. This was the summer after the Christmas where I walked downstairs and Santa Claus left a huge camping tent that I wanted. I go inside the camping tent. There's a bunch of Star Wars toys. I mean, so much of Star Wars was in my childhood. In your multiple viewings of Return of the Jedi, I've done this a few times, and maybe you've done this. We think the first scene is the whole Jabba scene. It's not the first scene. The first scene is this huge destroyer, very reminiscent of the beginning of the original Star Wars, over a planet. I guess it's over Endor or over the forest moon of Endor. And you see the Death Star under construction. Fantastic shot, but yet the music is eerie, not as not as exciting as the original Star Wars. It's much darker. And then you have Admiral Dieter, or whatever his name is.
His jugular moves.
Great!
This was the best use of jugular acting. So you see Vader, and he swallows, and it's like this. Like,
yes.
I hope he made a lot of money for it, like his small dialogue.
Sure.
The little thing going, like him, like going, I don't want to get choked out, and here's Vader, and all those things that you have to do. It's like having the worst boss ever, right? Like you have to kind of gird up.
Yes, and Vader shows up. He goes, Vader, Lord Vader, this is an unexpected pleasure.
Like,
and Vader's just going on and on about how he's not ready, and like, oh, we're doing everything we can. And then he says that the Emperor's coming, and he goes, we shall double our efforts. And I'm always thinking, well, why didn't you do that to begin with?
I mirror everything you're saying. Vader does give him a little bit. You may dispense of the pleasantries, Commander, like the little hand. You see. And then you get the first glimpse, or you get the, talking about the Emperor. If you're talking about dropping in new characters for Jedi that are great, Jabba's one, the Emperor's the other. And I will say this: I talked a lot about the special editions and how I abhor them. The one, if I had to amend,
I think I know what you're going to say.
Empire Strikes Back, the hologram Emperor actually works because it is Ian McDiarmid, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So that he looms large. And it's funny because, he was, I don't know how old he was, probably in his 40s, but the makeup in 1983 is better than any of the makeup in the prequels, and the new trilogy.
We go to Tatooine, and I've always loved the Jabba scene. Later in life, people have kind of talked about the logic behind it, about what.
Totally cockamamie logic for trying to get Han out of there.
But it's awesome. Would you agree that's awesome?
Well, it's great. It's also the Cantina 2.0 or 3.0. So you get all these great new characters. And again, the special edition ruined this with the new songs and the CGI. So I can't even talk about that. I'm going to talk about the Cy Snoodles and the Max Rebo Band and all of those. None of the new characters. I talked about me not. I was saying it's a trick, not it's a trap, which is coming up. But I knew that Boosh was Leia right off. My brain had grown a little bit.
Yes,
so I got all those things. I was excited to see Lando.
Oh yeah.
And
I had that toy, Lando in disguise.
Yeah, we can get past that. The Jedi for kids is great, but it is a cockamamie escape plan, and we're gonna have to leave it at that. I mean, that's why there's some things about. I'm gonna go ahead and say it like this: the reason why the Return of the Jedi for me is great is because everything between Luke and Vader, and then Luke and Vader and the Emperor.
Jabba's acting. I know he's a puppet, but I feel like he's an actor. I love it when his what's his henchman's name?
Bib Fortuna.
Yeah, Fortuna. Thank you.
You only know that because of the and I have something about him, by the way. Go ahead though.
But when Fortuna wakes him up, and he's immediately angry that he's awakened. He's
you have to look, if you've seen any of the behind the scenes, you have to look at like maybe from Star Wars to Jedi. That VHS tape from Star Wars to Jedi.
Yeah,
shows the inner workings of Jabba, and it's phenomenal how they do the tale and how it's just a multi-person job. So much fun. A real side street about Bib Fortuna. That actor, which I don't have his name, he was in one of my favorite horror movies, not to give it too much to give it away, but I love An American Werewolf in London. And he is the annoyed businessman on the subway that gets it by and you have to kind of know that. But I was always wondering like what else has he done? And
he has a great face for horror, no doubt.
I made that connection. And you know, you have the Gamorrean guards, you know, obviously green pigs. The whole place is filled with characters that, you know, then you could buy as kids. So you find out all the names because of the action figures.
I love Luke killing that big, huge monster, and then the
Rancor.
Yeah, the fat guy that was sad about it. That made me laugh as an 8-year-old. It makes me laugh as a 4-year-old.
They go arm in arm. It goes arm in arm.
Oh, it's so funny.
I think I always thought, or maybe I read this, that they had raised it. For some reason, they had raised it as a baby, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's like they had this dog, you know, that just happened to be this horrible monster.
Yeah.
There's some small. We didn't talk much about the comedy. The C-3PO and R2 in A New Hope. That's the best comedy there is. My favorite funny scene is 3PO thinking that Luke and Han and Leia and Chewie are being demolished or being squashed by the trash compactor.
Oh yes, totally.
Curse my metal body.
Yes,
that's my favorite. But there are a few little tidbits like that still make it fun.
Well, C-3PO is one of my favorites. I've often been called the gayest straight man you'll ever meet, and I love 3PO. I mean, he's just. I've been called that a lot. It's never bothered me. Another thing I've noticed in the Jabba scene is maybe you've noticed this. Mark Hamill, I can see his eye makeup, like he has eyeliner. Okay. Next time you see it, check it out.
Luke's coolest outfit, obviously coming in with the cloak, the light beam coming down on him, which is just an excellent shot. And so you have. Then, you know, obviously Luke goes down to fight the Rancor with a Gamorrean guard.
Yeah.
I always wondered why the other Gamorrean guards were laughing. I mean, were they all buddies or were they brothers? Because they were howling when the other pig guard fell down with Luke.
Here's a question, logic-wise. Why is Boba Fett there? Seems like he would. He's finished his mission. He would go off. It's cool seeing him there, but
and again, there's been a lot of that. Talk through the years about he was ineffective. He should have been more effective with Luke, and it was kind of a strange way for somebody who had become, or a character that become so popular to go out that way. And you're seeing a lot with the Mandalorian series, how Favreau and all those guys that are putting that together, we're doing a pretty good job with it. I mean, that's an understatement. You see a lot of these callbacks. You see like I don't know what, Salacious Crumb, Jabba's little toady, you know, in one of the Mandalorian episodes, they're like cooking one on a rotisserie.
Yeah.
There's one of those, the thing that comes out of the wall to ask C-3PO and R2, those things are, so they're taking, you can tell they're fans. And that's the one thing about anybody who is taking on Star Wars, at least, these guys are fans. And sometimes there's a little more, like the fan service can get a little much, but I think they're doing that in a good way.
In the character that comes out when 3PO and R2-D2 are knocking on the door, and it cracks me up that in this language, when 3PO introduces R2-D2, it's R2-D2 in that language is R2-De-Toa. That always made me laugh. Do you remember that part? You remember him saying
R2-De-Toa.
R2-De-Toa. Uh,
Oh.
oh, so one thing that I've heard before about Return of the Jedi is that Solo is weakened as a character.
Oh yeah, completely. We know Harrison Ford wanted the character to die in Return of the Jedi. That's come out obviously the last couple of years. I mean, he's a crucial part of the plan to get the shield down with
Yeah.
the commandos and the crew. You know, they have to run into the Ewoks and do all that. So, yeah, I mean, like I've said, towards the end of it, the only thing I'm concerned with is what Luke's going to be doing.
Yeah.
Everything else is very ancillary. But I have a 10-year-old. My 10-year-old self still loves Return of the Jedi, even though I know that it's just, you know, it's not the greatest Star Wars movie.
R2, we're going to the Dagobah system. I've got a promise to keep to an old friend. A certain point of view. Let's talk about the return to Dagobah.
Yeah, I mean, again, you were talking a little bit about the mellow nature of the start of the movie.
Yeah.
I also feel like that, I don't know if mellow is the right word, but there is they slow down the film, which is fine with me. I think a lot of movies could take a page out of that.
Absolutely.
Slow down a little bit and let's have some conversations about things that need to be addressed. I mean, I think that the new trilogy, they flubbed this in the biggest way
to a detriment.
So they weren't able to slow down and answer some questions. So
yeah,
all that's great. All that dialogue is excellent, and you find out Leia is the sister.
I remember hearing that Leia was the sister before I saw it. Which at 8 or however old I was at the time, it didn't seem to bother me for the spoiler. I was like, oh, okay. But well, of course she is. She's the only other female in the galaxy. She's got to be.
Shown this to my kids. My 9-year-old saw it when she was probably 6 or 7. So for me, it was fun to watch her react to these things. And of course, I don't say anything. I just sit there quietly and hope they like it, because I'm not going to force it on them if they don't. That's no big deal. My 9-year-old asked me, like, if Yoda's so powerful, why is he here by himself on Dagobah? Which is a
good question.
Well, I said, well, I think he's hiding. I mean, we can talk a little bit about the backstory, but I think and a lot of this could be just, you know how they write a million things, and I don't read all that junk. Some of it's not. If there is a place on Dagobah that has a cave that is strong with the dark side of the Force, for whatever reason, there's some link there to Sith or Jedi, and perhaps Yoda went there because if there is a strong feeling of the Force, maybe it hides the fact that he even exists anymore. So maybe he had to go there because that was a good place to hide. We missed something in Empire when Luke says there's something familiar about this place. I would have liked for them to run with that. I feel like that's a thread left.
That's right.
I thought maybe even they had baby Luke there for a little while. We know that didn't happen, but there's something familiar about this place needed to be addressed. And now it feels like a J.J. Abrams mystery box that never gets solved. And that's annoying. This, that whole scene is wonderful. It's like we said, it's a slowdown that gets us back to the plan that sets us in motion for our A, B, and C story.
Lando and Han. Lando did what he had to do back in Empire Strikes Back on Bespin. And Han is furious at him. And then Han is frozen in carbonite. And then he wakes up and now they're best friends.
I think that once Lando and Chewie left at the end of Empire to track down Han, I think that was him making it right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's responsible for getting him out of there. Yeah, and then Han saves Lando from the Sarlacc pit, which
I thought you were blind.
just a little higher. The Sarlacc pit is terrible in the special edition. I'm gonna keep going back to that. It's a praying mantis coming out. I like just the way they had it in the original, and that also leaves room for Boba Fett to survive. And I think a lot of times there was a comic book that had Boba get shot out of the Sarlacc and survive. And I think that, I don't want to give too much away, but I feel like that's may come up again. That would be nice to give Boba Fett a little bit more to do, because again, the coolest character, people love him. and that would be interesting to actually, because what we've seen is the Mandalorian did everything that we wanted him to do that maybe we wanted Boba Fett to do.
So we meet another female in the universe, Mon Mothma, who's great.
Yeah, she comes up a lot. Then she's in Rogue One, and she's in Revenge of the Sith.
Great scene, and then probably my least favorite scene in Return of the Jedi. I think it's the worst special effects. I'm surprised they didn't change the special effects in the special edition. And I always think it's kind of weird, the scene with Lando and Han, where Han talks him into the Millennium Falcon, and then he immediately regrets it. I don't know your thoughts on that scene, or do you like it?
So tell me about what you thought about with is it the Falcon behind them? Like it's obvious.
Yeah, it's obvious that it's a painting. Was there
a good luck? You're gonna need it. Did you do one of those good luck? You're gonna need it.
You're gonna need it was in the scene before, which actually good luck. You're gonna need it.
I'm misremembering.
Yeah, he goes, good luck. You're gonna need it. General, count me in. Then Luke comes in. You can count me in too. What is it? Ask me again sometime. It just cracks me up.
They have the authority to stop an entire rebel meeting. By the way, they're so.
I know. It's like, here are the cool kids. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Here comes Luke. He blew up the first Death Star. Dennis Lawson, who plays Wedge Antilles, he is the only, I believe, actor besides the main cast that was in all three. So he is with Lando and Nien Nunb.
Yeah.
They blow up Death Star 2. He is on Hoth and with some of the AT-ATs or AT-ATs.
He says, good luck, Luke. See you at the roundabout. See you at the rendezvous.
See you at the rendezvous.
Yeah. War is fun.
We talk a little bit about lightsaber battles. Everybody's like, there's always those weird polls, ridiculous. What's the number one lightsaber battle? The only thing that matters are, like we talked about, stakes. That's why the Empire Strikes Back lightsaber battle is my favorite, simply because of all the things that are going on around it. I love it. And then the Jedi, this one is phenomenal too because of all
Agreed.
With it. So that's why it's good. It's not necessarily because it's technically beautiful, because if we're talking about that, we're going to say young Obi-Wan and Darth Maul's exchange is probably the best. But in terms of just how I'm feeling about the characters, is always going to be Empire than Jedi.
I don't know how true this was. I don't know if this was actually in the screenplay, but what do you think about if in Return, kind of a what if Han had been in the Millennium Falcon, Leia and everybody else had been down on Endor?
Where do you put Lando?
You could put him on Endor, or you can put him in the Millennium Falcon with Han.
Yeah,
maybe.
I like that alternate reality.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those. There's those Elseworlds comic books that does 12 different things.
Yeah.
With better ideas in some ways, and it has Luke and Leia confronting Vader and the Emperor. I've seen that before. Like, what happens if Luke says, "Why you need to come with me?" And they walk away from the Ewok picnic together, treehouse, and where does that take them? So there's a few of those what if stories that are very interesting to me, and it turned out this way. I love, if we're talking about Endor for a moment, I mean, the whole, we have the Ewoks, which I think in some ways they're kind of the much maligned characters.
Brian, sorry to interrupt. I had a friend that told me that Boba Fett's death and the Ewoks were a sign of things to come, which I just think is hilarious. Talking about the prequels. But anyway, keep going. Sorry to interrupt.
Boba Fett's death and the Ewoks.
Yeah.
I know he was probably deadly serious. Just like, you know what?
Oh, he was.
A true fan.
Exactly.
So you have Warwick Davis, who's wonderful. He was Willow, and he was a kid at the time. Wicket seemed to be. I mean, Wicket made the poster, for Pete's sake. That's the one thing my favorite theatrical release poster is Return of the Jedi, but I'll never understand why they left Chewbacca off and put in Wicket on the poster. If you can remember it, it's kind of the.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, it's one of those things I was like, well, why? Chewbacca gets a raw deal in a few of the. I mean, he got a raw deal in The Last Jedi, I would say. We're just hanging around.
Raw deal. I think the biggest raw deal was in Force Awakens, but
Maybe so. And I love that Chewie gets in that ATST and blows everybody up in that thing with those two other Ewoks. You know, that's where kind of they're getting. So yeah, as a
Which
kid,
brings me back to the Elseworld. If Solo is on the Falcon, I still want Chewie down on the Forest Moon of Endor.
I got you. Okay, so you'll have Nine Numb, his Lando's co-pilot. I love
Who
that
was awesome. Who was awesome.
I love I mean, listen, that's the one thing. I mean, again, the nostalgia piece washes over me and some of the stuff that's maybe be suspect for somebody who sees it for the first time. Like, I'm like, oh, look at them. I was 10. What are you going to do?
Final thoughts on the third act of Return.
So I look at Luke and Leia's scene in the treehouse where he talks to her about who she is finally. And she talks about her mother. I'd like to be able to know a little bit more about that because it doesn't really line up with maybe it doesn't line up with the prequels, but maybe she's thinking about her adopted mom. But doesn't it set up like a play in some ways because you have them talking and then it goes to a wide shot and he leaves to go. And then Han's like, hey, what's going on? And he comes up. It felt very much like a
oh,
theater.
Sure. He's jealous, but he never crosses the line. And then at the end, he's a gentleman. He's like, look, if y'all are a thing, I'll stay out of the way. And then she kisses him. And they said, he's my brother. And his, Harrison Ford's reaction still makes me laugh.
I would like to just be like, break the fourth wall, right? And just be like, even though he knows he's they're going to end up together. The one thing I would say about the third act is that, and not to get, I haven't thought about this much, but it's the idea of family and the destructive nature of family, just like the tatters that family can be and are. I mean, we can talk about divorce rates. We can talk about all the things that are ruined about families. And then you have this piece with Luke doing his best to bring his father back from the brink. And I think that speaks volumes to a lot of people, maybe. I don't know. I think it speaks to me because we all have the things we think about in terms of regrets, and we want to have a good relationship you want to have a good relationship with your family. So for Vader to be able to come back from all that after all the things he's done, I think is so deep to me. I've always loved that. And I hated I really did hate it. I was bummed how it ended, actually, that he was unable to be. I mean, he was saved, but he wasn't.
Right.
He wasn't able to.
Not physically.
Correct. So that's kind of like, that's my heavy kind of, the therapist version of it. You know what I mean? But it resonates.
To sound really nerdy, the cinematography of Vader, this actor, I assume it was David Prowse in this scene, because in Return, it was less David Prowse, I've heard. They used a lot of the stuntman, which is very sad. But anyway, you've got David Prowse, I assume, in the helmet, and he's Luke is being electrocuted by the Emperor, and he's like, Father, and he just looks back, and man, I am totally there. I felt it emotionally at 8 years old, and then he throws that son of a beep over the thing, and then he's dead as far as I'm concerned because the Last Jedi never happened. But that's another.
We can talk about that soon.
Talk about that later.
Sebastian Shaw did a wonderful job, and rest in peace. But he did. When the helmet finally comes off, I mean, that's a big moment, because I'll tell you what, we didn't talk about this with Empire, but Vader in his chamber, whatever type of chamber he has to be in, when it's coming down, when you see the back of his head, I mean, that to me, my eyes were saucers.
Yeah, who was under that helmet? Yeah, exactly.
Because at some point, what was he for you in A New Hope? I didn't know if he was a robot.
Is he an alien underneath?
What is he? I don't know. Who knows what that guy is?
Exactly.
So those are things that resonate with me.
And then, of course, the original ending of Star Wars with the num, 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 num. And then you see Sebastian Bach, Alec Guinness, and Yoda. I mean, everything is happy. I mean,
Lando's like,
oh yeah, and I believe Lando's clapping off the beat.
they Williams hadn't scored it just yet. He hadn't scored Nub Nub yet.
Yeah, Ewoks are beating on stormtrooper helmets, which is kind of morbid. Like, are they actual heads? You know,
I think they ate them. I honestly, that would make the Ewoks cooler if they just devoured those. I mean, because actually, if you think about it, they were going to eat Han, Luke, and everything.
Yeah.
So I would say that they ate, and that makes them better. So if anyone hates the Ewoks, just remember they ate the human stormtroopers.
Yeah. And I'd like to think of Lando or someone going down and eating some good Ewok barbecue, and then he finds out later that it was
what was that?
One of the stormtroopers. What was that meat?
I just thought about something. You know, Bad Lip Reading has done a lot of interesting and fun songs through the years, and Seagulls, Stop It Now. You know, there's a few really good ones, but my 6-year-old was like really annoyed when the Yoda scene came up, because she was like, when are they gonna sing? And this is when she was like 4.5. So now, like, the Luke training sequence is a disappointment, because it's not Seagulls, Stop It Now, which actually was one of my, like, that song's great. I don't listen to top 40, but that song makes me laugh so hard.
You know, I'm looking forward to someone doing a bad lip reading of you and I, Brian.
Well, that's a long way off. I think we're gonna be long gone. All right, someone's gonna discover. Is this one of the million pandemic podcasts? Wait a minute, another the 5 billionth person talking about Star Wars. Let's do them. Yeah, that's gonna happen. I
love
believe
it.
in my heart. So we want to say our Avita Zang?
Yes, let's get out of here. I'm Candler Bud.
Right,
and you have been watching Grab the Remote. We'll see you soon.